Welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast with Scott MacKenzie. Scott is a passionate industry professional dedicated to transferring cutting-edge, industry-focused innovations and trends while highlighting the men and women who keep the world moving. So put on your hard hat, grab your work boots, and let's go.
All right, once again, we are broadcasting on-site SMRP, this Industrial Talk platform, who is dedicated to industrial professionals all around the world. You're bold, you're brave, you dare greatly, you innovate, you are constantly solving problems, making the world a better place. That's why we celebrate you on Industrial Talk at SMRP 31. If you are in, speaking of which, if you are in the asset management, reliability, or whatever profession like that, you need to be a part of SMRP.org. Go out to SMRP.org. Be a part of that organization. You get exposed to symposiums. You get exposed to professionals who are also passionate about asset management, reliability, and maintenance. One of which is sitting in the hot seat. Paul is his name. Reliablity X is the company. Let's get cracking with the conversation. When was the first time I interviewed you, Paul? It was a long time ago.
It's been a long time ago.
Yeah, you had more hair.
Right. Guessing 10 years, maybe?
Yeah, really? Son of a gun. That's a long time. I didn't know that.
Seems like a long time.
Yeah. Now I'm all depressed. No, it was only 2 years ago. Yeah, we're not getting older. Why would we do that?
Yeah, I missed my hair.
Yeah, just talk to the hand, Paul. Yeah, but anyway, give us a background on who Paul is.
Well, I'm a reliability engineer with Reliability Excellence. Been in that role for the last almost 2 years.
Has it been that long? See, come on.
I started January 21. Yeah, something like that.
Really?
And then before that, it was 29 years at the Board of Public Utilities, and the last 14.
I know.
The last 14 of that was a maintenance supervisor in a drinking water treatment plant.
I remember that conversation and the challenges that you had making sure that, well, water is clean and drinkable,
Yep.
whatever that might. But at Reliability X, do you sort of focus in on that, or do you sort of be a little bit broader than that?
No, I've got one client now, and it's just a Maximo deployment. So we're doing change management and training for nuclear and coal, gen, solar.
Who's the utility?
Evergy.
Evergy. Where are they out of?
About half in Kansas, about half in Missouri.
Evergy. And they have a nuclear facility?
They do. There was a merger that happened, I think it was in the past 10 years. It was Westar, that was mostly in Kansas, Aquila, Kansas City Power and Light, and then Wolf Creek Nuclear Operating Company all merged together to form Evergy. So they've got roughly about half of Kansas and maybe about half of Missouri. There's electrical generation and distribution.
That's a big project.
I don't know how many plants they have. I know they've got some wind farms, some solar farms. It's really big.
How long is the implementation?
I want to say it's been about 2.5, 3 years now.
Yeah,
it was going on about 6 months before I came on to the company, so at least that long.
Yeah, it's. I did a utility implementation, and it takes a long time.
Oh yeah, to me it should take longer because you've got the whole development phase, and then you've got to get all the applications,
the legacies,
to work right with the data and all the legacy data, and they're still finding stuff that they didn't bring in that they have got to roll back in. And then making sure all that works, and then somebody will run it through and, it doesn't do this right, so then they got to fix that, and then they break something else. Like, to me, it'd be nice to get to fix all that stuff, then do the training, not like do the training and start using it while that's still going on. Like, because that affects, that'd be like getting a new car and say, well, the engine's going to have some problems and your tires may go flat, in the next 6 months, because we're still working on getting all the. So it's not a good end-user experience.
But that's a common tale.
Right?
It's common. Sadly, it's common. Because I know that everybody wants to get that thing up and running and get it going.
You spend a fortune on them, you want to get using it. So.
Yeah, and The other challenge that I always, it was always data. It's like getting the good data, cleaning the data. Oh my gosh, cleaning the data. I'd rather.
Luckily, I think they had good data. It was that they were bringing in so many systems that they had in-house. Yeah. I think one of the reasons they chose Maximo for this project is it gave one platform for all their generation and distribution. So one common sort of platform, and it brought in a lot of legacy systems that were really sort of developed in-house and kind of gets them out of the road. Now Maximo's there. So the people that developed them, are no longer there. So that did really something to get those older systems data somewhere where it's more useful.
A little bit more resilient. My gosh. Mm-hmm. And again, it always surprises me, because when I was implementing systems way back when for utilities, I swear to God, it's the same doggone conversation.
I don't think anything's changed.
Nothing has changed. It's just
everybody's got the same problems, and everybody thinks, "Oh, it's just my install is bad." No, they're all that bad.
Bring me in, and I won't charge you anything, but I'll just make sure that you understand that you're not alone. Very common. So let's talk a little bit about that. How would you approach an enterprise system of development? Like, you wanted to talk about what? CMMS and all that. Tell us, how would the Paul do it? Did you see how I did the Paul?
That's good. I
know you can use it. Run with it.
So I guess in my head, I think it would be a good idea if I'm spending money, in the order of millions of dollars on an EAM system, to send my teams that are going to be working with implementation partners to at least a week-long class to see the basics of the system through all the applications, how everything works out of the box. Instead of saying, well, this is how our old systems work, we kind of want the new system to work the same way the old system did.
No, that's not, you don't want to translate the problem into a new, oh, come on.
But that happens. It happens like a lot. It happens all too often, I think, and they weren't really immune from that either. So, when you go from some legacy systems that have been there since the plants were built, so you just got all the stuff, and they knew how that worked, and they wanted a new one to work the same way because it worked with their processes, instead of saying, you know what, the data is going to be there. Let's just figure out where it's going to be in this new system.
Yeah, but wouldn't you also do like for me personally, every system that I deployed outside of the evaluation, is this the right system? Here's the functionality. Taking it, and I mean, it's a grind. Don't get me wrong, it's a grind. So you take it and you look at the functionality, and that's what we need. No, we don't need this, and at least look at a couple of systems to be able to come up with, I feel warm and fuzzy with this approach. Fine, good. But then also being able to document. This is where I always went. Tell me about your process. Just map it out. Your as-is process, right. And get all the people in the room and say, that's how we do it. No, that's not. No, that's how we do it. And get them, fight it out and map the daggone thing.
Yeah, and that was my advice to them. So I had Maximo where I was at the utility I worked at, and I knew a bunch of people at Evergy, and I said, hey, I heard you guys are getting Maximo. Come out and I'll give you a tour of mine and tell you some things that we did wrong and things we did right, and just some suggestions. I think there was probably 25 people that came out. Let me show them Maximo, how we did it and all. And I was like, look, one thing you need to do, spend as much time as it takes, a year, 2 years, 3 years, get all your processes mapped out. You have to have that done. Don't wait until the implementation partner shows up and try and figure that out, because you're going to waste a ton of money right off, because they're not going to tell you anything about your process that you don't already know, and they're not at the stage where they need to know what information you've got. So why even engage them? Get all your stuff mapped out, when parts are getting procured, who's in that process, who touches what at what point,
What document is generated, why is it generated, things like that. Great questions.
Yep, it was great. But I think they did that a little bit, but it's not well documented. Like even today, they're still trying to decide who touches some pieces of a transaction.
Stunning. Because every implementation I've done has always been as is, get everybody sort of agreeing that that's the business. And it requires some gnashing of teeth. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
It's not a painless process, but it is such a valuable process, because then you can say, oh, we want it to be like, this is as is, we want it to be this.
Right.
Here's the gaps, and be able to identify that. And it's not, running a ton of money. And then you can say, if this is the way we want to be, then the system, then you make the system do that.
Right, exactly. And, I know when we did it at the utility I was working at before, we had found some things sort of in that process that, like, why are we even doing this? And then the answer was, well, because we'd always been doing it, but like, what's the value of it? Why do we keep on doing it? And so they dropped those out. So it was kind of good. And I think it was a couple of people's jobs that some things didn't happen with anymore, but it was just sort of a silly paper process to have somebody do something.
Yeah.
Keep them busy, I guess.
Right.
But, to me, that's one of the benefits of working out that process, is you can maybe find some opportunities to improve your processes or get rid of some sort of silly things that have happened and maybe shouldn't be happening.
It's simply brilliant, because you see it on paper, but you have to document it, right? You have to document it, because if you don't, people will say, that's not what he said or she said. That's not, and you have nothing to sort of fall back on. That's tangible.
Right. So, there's that too, and then there's always attrition that happens. So I think there was a lot of attrition that happened. Like, people left and retired, while this project was going on, and they were some of the subject matter experts. So when they left the door, that knowledge...
They came back as consultants?
Well, some of them did, for sure. Some of them did, but other ones didn't, and so that's never helpful.
So where do we stand on that implementation? Like, where
it's deployed. It's still got some bugs they're working out, but it's in use. Is
it also it's enterprise, of course? Is it generation specific, or is it generation and transmission and distribution? Does it take into the components of the utility?
I think it's going to be distribution and generation, but the sort of nuclear process is outside of that. The only thing they're sharing in common is the stores across the enterprise. So that way they've got visibility to parts, in another plant or whatever that might have the same part. But so they got a common item master. That's really the only thing that's shared across the organization.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It is a very big project.
We always had a challenge between aligning distribution, because their business is, different than transmission, which is different than generation, which is different than substations. It's like everything's different, and it's geographically diverse. It's just
your sort of your assets and locations are what's really the biggest difference out of it. Yeah. What are your demarcs for, saying this section of wire or whatever in a linear type of asset, but. All my experience has been in a vertical plant, so I think Maximo is better at vertical stuff than it is linear. But it's got capability to do both. I just haven't touched that piece of it much.
But now you're going to be touching it quite a bit. Yeah, no.
I like it.
You're always fun. How do people get a hold of you, my friend?
Well, they can find me on reliabilityx.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, Paul Crocker.
Hey, what's your title at Reliability X? Are you a big
Senior Reliability Engineer.
Oh, okay, very good. Senior
Reliability Engineer.
Absolutely wonderful. I always enjoy my conversations with you. Big time. Okay. All right, we're going to wrap it up on the other side. We're going to have all the contact information for Paul and Reliability X out on industrialtalk.com, so you can get a hold of him. Are you pretty active on LinkedIn? Okay. There you go.
It's about the only place I'm at anymore. A little on Twitter, but mostly on LinkedIn.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree. It just makes sense. All right. We're broadcasting from SMRP 31. You need to put SMRP 32 on your calendar next year. You're going to, and you need to be a part of SMRP. Go out to smrp.org. be a part of the organization. You
And the local chapters.
And see,
The
there it
local
is.
chapters. There's a Kansas City chapter.
Local chapters, too.
And we need more people. Like if you're in the Kansas City metropolitan area, look up kcsmrp.org.
Look at you.
Find us.
Man, you're better than I am. Look at you. Just got all bright-eyed on that one. It's like, that just perked you up. Yeah, be a part of those chapters, too. The network is extensive. And if you want to be in reliability, asset management, maintenance, whatever that part you want to be a part of, smrp.org. So go out there. We're going to wrap it up on the other side, so stay tuned. We will be right back.
You're listening to the Industrial Talk Podcast Network.
Paul Crocker. That old salty reliability dog. He's seen a lot and he has done a lot. You're in the reliability space, asset management, any of those, maintenance. Yeah, he's a must connect. He'll lay it out there. Trusted, big time trustworthy. Jeez, always fun to talk to Paul. All right. Industrial Talk is here for you. I say it all the time. It is about education, it's about collaboration, and it's about innovation. And pretty much in that order. And we want you to be a part of this ecosystem. Just go out to Industrial Talk and say, Scott, I want to connect with you. Let's tell you a story. Let's figure out how we can collaborate. It's important. It's important that we tell that story so that we can just truly work with industry leaders to impact this market. Be bold, be brave, dare greatly. Hang out with Paul, change the world. We're going to have another great conversation shortly, so stay tuned.